Hello, this is AJ. Welcome to the vocabulary lesson for Healthy at 100. Now, I know the vocabulary lesson is probably the least exciting and interesting lesson of the collection, and that's okay. In fact, it's really my least favorite as well. I'd say listen to it one or two times, maybe the first or second day, and after that, you don't need to listen to it every single day. The most important lessons are, the main lesson, the main audio, and the mini story and the POV. Those are the most important, but listen to the vocabulary lesson a few times the first couple days of the week. All right, let's get started with the vocabulary lesson for Healthy at 100. There's actually a good amount of vocabulary in this one. Our first word is correlation. So he talks about the correlation between cancer and animal food. Cancer and animal food. There's a correlation between the two. Correlation means connection or association. It means the two go together. They happen at the same time. If you're eating a lot of animal food, then you're going to have more chance of cancer. They're connected. There's a connection there. So that's called a correlation. Correlation. Now, it does have a little bit more specific scientific meaning if you're talking about research, but you'll learn that in a research class or a statistics class. The general meaning is a connection, an association between two things. Correlation. So correlation. There's a correlation between cancer, high cancer rates, and eating animal food. Okay, next, we have the word consumption. There's a correlation between cancer and animal food consumption. So here, consumption just means eating. Yeah, consumption, eating. Very simple. Animal food consumption. Animal food eating. When you consume, it's the verb, it's consume. To consume means to eat or to use up. Use it all. So consumption is the noun. It just means eating. Very simple. A little bit later, we have the word colon. There was a study of colon cancer. Women who ate a lot of meat had high rates of colon cancer. So colon is part of your body. It's your gut. It's your bowel. It's your lower intestine. Right? So your food goes down your throat, into your stomach. From your stomach, goes into your upper intestine, and then finally into your lower intestine, into your colon. And then it comes out your body again. So colon is your bowel, your gut, your lower intestine. Next, we have the word dairy. Dairy products, dairy food. Dairy just means milk or cheese. It's something that comes from milk or cheese. Comes from an animal. You don't kill it. It's not meat. Meat is the muscle of the animal. But dairy products usually comes from the milk of the animal. So milk and cheese are the most common dairy products. Milk and cheese. Dairy products. So the more dairy products you consume, the more dairy products you eat, the more cancer you're going to have, the more disease you're going to have or may have. Your risk is much higher. Next, we have the word prostate cancer. So there was this study at Harvard University, and they found a correlation, a connection between dairy products and prostate cancer. It's a specific kind of cancer. Prostate is a gland. It's like a little organ, a little body part in men, and it's kind of near the penis and testicles. It's down, and it's kind of in that area. It's a little tiny area of tissue. And it is at risk for cancer. So a lot of men get prostate cancer. In fact, my grandfather died of prostate cancer, one of my grandfathers. And a lot of men are at risk for prostate cancer. And the more dairy products men eat, drink, consume, the higher their risk for prostate cancer. Whereas, strict vegetarian men, for example, have a very low risk for prostate cancer. So again, prostate is the part of the body, and cancer is the disease. We see the phrase advanced cancer. Advanced cancer. You know the word advanced. Advanced means, high level. So if we're talking about advanced cancer, it just means cancer that has already grown a lot. High-level cancer means very bad cancer. It's not just starting. It's already grown a lot. It's developed a lot. So that's advanced cancer. It's very serious, very bad cancer. There's another phrase. It's not common at all, but it's in the article, so we'll talk about it. Metastatic cancer. Metastatic means spreading. It means something that's growing. It's moving through the body. It's not just in one part of the body. And of course, that's very serious. It's very bad. It's a very terrible thing. Okay. Later, we have the phrase, on the other hand. You probably already know this one, but on the other hand means however. On the other hand, people who don't eat dairy products have low rates of cancer. So that means however. Okay. Next, we have associated with. Associated with. So high rates of meat consumption are associated with cancer. And that's the same as correlation. It just means connected. Connected to. So associated with means connected to. Connected to, associated with. It means they go together. They happen together. Next, we have the word whopping. Okay, so they studied men, and men who drank soy milk instead of cow's milk had a whopping 70% reduction in their risk of prostate cancer. Whopping means very big, huge. So it's a huge reduction. It's not small. It's not a small reduction. It's a huge reduction. Of course, reduction means something, make smaller, get smaller. So much less, much less, whopping, big change, big difference. A whopping difference is a big difference. It's a huge difference. It's a whopping difference. Next, we have the word genetic. The differences are not genetic. So genetic means related to biology, related to family, related to race, right? My father and I are genetically connected, right? His biology and mine are connected. They're similar. And my mother and I and my sister and I, right? We are genetically connected. So the differences are not genetic. It's not because someone is Chinese. If someone's Chinese, it doesn't guarantee they will be healthy. Their race, their genetics, it's not what is important. It's how they eat. A Chinese person who eats like an American is going to be unhealthy. And actually today, many Chinese people are eating like Americans, and they are becoming less healthy. It's happening in many parts of the world. So it's not genetic. It's not because of family or race. It's because of behavior. And finally, we have the word counterparts. So talking about the study between Chinese people who eat traditional food, kind of vegetarian kind of diets in China, and then Chinese Americans who eat American food. So he says Chinese American men living in the United States are 10 times more likely to get cancer as their genetic counterparts who eat vegetarian food in China. Okay, so they're counterparts. Counterparts means a match or equal, an identical thing, an identical part. So in other words, you have genetically, biologically, a Chinese American and a Chinese person. Oh, they're both Chinese, right? Their biology, their body, they're both Chinese. One is living in the United States, one is living in China. Maybe it's brothers, for example. You might have one brother living in China, one brother living in San Francisco. So genetically, they're very close, biology, right? They are counterparts. They are genetic counterparts, genetic matches, genetic equals, right? So they're identical parts almost identical, very similar. Two brothers, Chinese in China, Chinese in the United States. Right? They're counterparts. They're matches. They're equals. But the one who eats a high-fat, high-meat, high-dairy diet is going to get sick, has a very high risk for cancer. The one that eats a very low-meat, low-dairy, almost vegetarian diet has very low risk for cancer. So they're genetic counterparts, but the behavior can determine their health. So again, counterpart means two parts that are equal, two parts that are very similar. And that is the end of the vocabulary lesson for Healthy at 100. Big smile, big breath, on to the mini story.